The darkness within, listen and believe. So, listen and believe is this idea that if someone tells you something happened, you should just listen to them and believe that it happened. The problem with this, now the idea behind it is good. The basic premise being that if someone explains to you that something is happening to them that's bad, someone else caused it, right? Then it's kind of a you're listening ear. You're there to soothe the person and make them validate their experience. The issue is if there's malfeasance behind it, and the person you're listening to is lying, and there's some ulterior motive, then you're um, you're causing a massive upheaval and justice. There's this lack of accountability on the side of the person who's asking to be listened and to believe and to be believed. So the saying is, in some respects, it's actually good, but the problem is it kind of ignores the logic of a thing, right? Um, I remember talking about this and saying that there should be an empathetic side, and then there should be another side or another person who focuses on the logic, um, the justice of a thing to see if it's actually legitimate. But that's another story. Anyways, so the darkness within listen and believe. Listen and believe as it's always been a thing. The Bible speaks about false accusers, and um, women were falsely accusing men in the past. It was common. It was common in the past, and now it's even more common. Um, and it's in legislation to where we actually defend these kind of things. There have been a lot of people to perish as a result of false accusations, and there's been a lot of now. Granted, on the other side, there are people who get away with doing bad things, and I'm not for that either. But what I see, I often talk about how a lot of times there's this kind of sense that if we had women rulers, that the world would be better. Like this kind of grandiose moral, like upstanding, or we um, moral superiority, or we kind of have this default idea that women are moral superiors to men. I was talking to a lady at a club. Me and the group of guys went out to this club in Dallas, and this girl was standing next to the group of guys I was with, and one of the guys was telling her about the subject that he knew, and she was like, "Oh, really, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that, right?" And I made a joke, right? I said it out loud. I'm like, "Oh, that's mansplaining." I was being funny, right? I wasn't trying to, be a simp or anything. But then the chick was like, "Oh, yeah, what he said," and I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, "Yeah, I was just joking. It's kind of bullshit." But then she was like, "Oh, but that's what it is." So I'm like, "Yeah, but there's no woman splaining. So what's the whole point of it if it's just one sided?" And she's like, "But women don't do that." I'm like, "Really now? Women aren't messed up, just like women aren't condescending. They're not this, they're not that." And she's like, "No, we don't." And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, wow, it's weird. She probably actually believes that. She probably actually believes that the human condition, the negative side of the human condition, only lies on the side of the people with rods sticking out of their pants, right? Um, so yeah. Anyways, so back to the point. Um, so listen and believe is very able, and it is causing a lot of people to. Um, Now, I've read some horror stories. I've read horror stories where there was a boy, and he wasn't even all that old, really, but he got accused of rape and or assault or something, and he so it was false, but he ended up um, self deleting, And then whenever his mom or his family figured out that he self-deleted, I think his mom ended up self-deleting after he self-deleted. So it ended up being that two people were gone as a result of a lie. So now I often hear a lot of times that from people, from women in particular, that it's only like 2 or 3% in terms of like the false accusation, but it's not. It's extremely high. I think the reason why they want to downplay it is because, well, it's an advantage that you have, right? Why would you want to upplay something? And it actually like forces you to see the legitimacy of something. It forces you to be accountable for your actions as a group. And as we all know, accountability is not really something that is inherent in the female psyche. Um, Unfortunately, no matter how that sounds, it's kind of true, which is the main reason why no one wants to see a lot of female leaders, is because we can't even really hold the average female accountable just in everyday occurrences. Anyways, yeah, these are my brief thoughts on listen and believe and pretty much Me Too and all of that other stuff. Hopefully, I can come out with some more stats in the future and kind of debunk this whole 2% thing. I don't really have I don't really have a want or desire to do that, but maybe I'll do that. The darkness within, listen and believe.